Rama. We have to do what pleases him and then pray. So let me wish everybody here, everybody, everywhere, with intense prayers to Bhagawan, that tomorrow will be a very happy, healthy, delightful Deepavali, a very bright Deepavali for everyone. There will be a new strength, new hope, new cheer in everybody's heart. And we shall support it with the sound of firecrackers and exchanging sweets. Of course, not to mention the new clothes. But above all, our celebration, the true devotees' celebration, would be filling the day with incessant Rama chanting. That would be the greatest way of celebration, remembering Bhagawan and praying to him for the best for everyone. Bhagawan's grace would inspire everybody into doing even the most impossible. So we shall see today one such case, one such devotee who could go beyond all his limitations. His name was Sethuraman, from a village called Taramakudi in Tamil Nadu. He retired as the postmaster. Of course, even from the year 1960, he had been walking, making many what we call padayatras, going places by walk, trekking. He went to Sabarimala in 1960, and from then on, there is no stopping. Up till this 2005, the ripe old age of 80 years, he had been doing a lot of walking. He'd been doing a lot of pilgrimages by walk. He says he had walked up to Payani, Tiruchendur, Tirutani, Vaidishwaran Kovil, Tirupati, Samayapuram, before he had darshan of Bhagawan, and after that he had walked up to Hosur. From 1990, he had done this Kashi Yatra right up to Varanasi by walk. Done it 4 times. And the last of it was when he was 79. Can you believe it? And I had seen his feet by arthritis, by walking in the cold, not sparing himself, no matter what the season was, how the weather was. His toes on both the feet had become incapacitated. They had turned down one could see how crooked they were. They had bent down, that he literally walked only on the sole. The toes all curved down. Very difficult to keep up one's balance while walking without the toes. The 5 toes on the left and the 5 toes on the right. Now we shall see, the very first time he came to know about Bhagawan from one of the newspapers, a very small coverage, mention of Bhagawan. When he saw the photograph of Bhagawan, he felt an inspiration, felt drawn to him. He decided to go and have darshan. So the first time, it was probably 1990, he took 2 friends of his, and then they went to Arunachaleshwara temple. They took a dip in the temple tank, and then they joined the queue for darshan of Bhagawan. Of course, when his turn came, the 3 of them went inside. He had taken a mala. So when he garlanded him, Bhagawan, of course, accepted the garland, and then he took it from his neck and garlanded our Sethuraman. And then he asked them whether he had seen them before. When they shook their head, Bhagawan said, "Okay, now you people go, you come back at 4 o'clock. So they left, and then they were waiting and waiting till 4 o'clock, and then they rushed. This time again, each one had a mala, and each one was allowed to garland him. And immediately Bhagawan, he put the garlands on their necks. And then he seated them across, and they were able to convey their problems to him. But this time, because Sethuraman was used to going places, going on pilgrimages by walk, he was asking his friend, Sundarajan. Both of them decided to go by walk to Tiruvannamalai. And then when they did, this time, suddenly, the last minute, Sethuraman's wife fell sick, was rushed to the hospital, and Sethuraman had to stay back. So he told his friends he would join them at some other place. He had to see to the welfare of his wife. So he rushed to the hospital, put a photograph of Bhagawan under her pillow, and then put some vibhuti in water and gave her to drink, praying, "Bhagawan, you please take care. She must recover fast so that I would be able to come there." And true to his prayer, she recovered fast, and Sethuraman joined the other people at Pillayarpatti, and they walked. Bhagawan, after seating them, asked them their problems, and each one had some problem or the other to talk about. And then as we said, each one had brought a garland. Bhagawan put the garland on their necks. So when they were seated, after a little time, Sethuraman saw the hand fan that Bhagawan had put a little away from him. Very naturally, he just moved his hand, took it and started fanning Bhagawan. It happened that I was there when these people visited him. 2 or 3 times I was there, I remember. He looked much younger at that time. And he started to fan, and here I was thinking, my God, without permission from Bhagawan, this man had taken this in hand and started. What would Bhagawan say? Bhagawan might even ask him to go out. Why would he do that? And as he was very worried, Bhagawan kept quiet, did not say anything, so that Jayaraman could go on fanning him until he left them. It was a great thing. Bhagawan did not say anything to him but allowed. So 4 to 6, he was able to fan Bhagawan. And after that Bhagawan was saying, why do you people come here with such difficulty? You can go to Kanimadam. In Kanimadam, this beggar is there. You can visit there. And then Jayaraman has written that Bhagawan said, this beggar's body is here, but his soul is there. I did not hear it that way, but Jayaraman has written that. Even if one should think that what Jayaraman says is true, how could you take it at the face value? How could you interpret it literally? Bhagawan has so many times said he was a dirty sinner. Was he a dirty sinner just because he declared so often? How could you interpret it literally? It could only mean wherever they have put the statue of this beggar and do worship, this beggar comes alive there. This beggar's body is here in Tiruvannamalai. This beggar is in flesh and blood in Tiruvannamalai, yes. But even when they put statues and worship in different places, wherever they do it, this beggar comes alive. This could be the only interpretation. You see, after Bhagavan's Mahasamadhi, Bhagavan's body was interred here. As you see, there's a mandir, Samadhi mandir. But I myself have heard him sing. I heard his voice singing his name. One evening, when I was seated here, I suddenly started to hear Bhagawan singing loudly. Hadn't I heard it so many times before? I knew it was his voice, I knew it was he who was singing. It was so alive, it was so vibrant. He went on singing loudly, and then I just looked around. I even sent people to see if there was anybody. It was getting dark, it was twilight, evening twilight. I sent some people around to see if there was anyone who was singing or playing a cassette. There was none. And I suddenly realized it was coming from the Samadhi. I ran to the Samadhi, and as I neared the Samadhi, the loudness increased. The volume kept on increasing. But when I stood before, very ecstatic, I stood before Bhagawan with folded hands, it stopped. Then I knew that it was a Leela he was playing to show that he was very much alive. In fact, when he was in a board, sick, and was being attended to by the doctors, he said, "Do not fear. This beggar can do much better work without this body." He assured. So Bhagavan is very much, not only that, when we sing in the evenings especially, I see Bhagavan sometimes walking up and down, with his sweeping hands, an intense expression. Sometimes I get glimpses, sometimes I see him. In the morning, when you enter Pradhan Mandir, there would be nobody except one or two. The whole place would be filled with golden light. It's a very high order radiation, Brahma Tejas. This golden spangles. Such is the energy here, such is the vibrant presence of Bhagavan. So do not ever say the body, only the body is in Tiruvannamalai. My God, how could anybody say that? After moving with Bhagavan, after enjoying His grace in so many ways, He is alive everywhere. He is vibrantly alive. They are very sadly mistaken if anybody should say that. I remember once when I was seated in Sannadhi Street Veranda, Bhagavan saw me picking up his hair, sometimes collecting his nail. He smiled, he got up and went inside and came out with a magazine. And there was an article on Sri Aurobindo by one of the closest attendants. I think it was by Nirodharan. So Bhagavan asked me to read that. And there, everything about Sri Aurobindo's hair, nail, they had saved. And if anybody should start a new center anywhere, they would give it in either a hair or a little nail. They would put it in a very nice box and send it there. It is installing that they started centers. And then, like me, the attendants would pick up the hair, everything, the nail, his personal things. And then there was somebody who had objected to it, saying that, why do you do that? It's a physical body of Sri Aurobindo. It's not Sri Aurobindo. It is his physical body. Why would you preserve all these things? And then there was an answer to that. They are as precious as Sri Aurobindo is. And suddenly Bhagavan said, Devki, stop it. Now you tell me, what do you think? You think this beggar's body is a mere body? Or something more? I said, Bhagavan, I'm picking up your hair. I preserve your nails. They are so precious to me, as precious as you are. How can I separate it from you? If you can touch something, that becomes vibrant, it comes alive, it radiates your grace. So how could we say anything at all about your body? It is as divine as the soul within. In fact, it's all one being, one divinity. We say God is all-pervasive, God is everywhere. He is in the stone also. Even the stone is conscious. And that's why you cut it down to a linga and put it in the Garbhagriha, the sanctum sanctorum. By chanting Veda mantras, you awaken the consciousness to a very high level that the linga is able to answer your prayers. If the stone is dead and it's a physical thing, how could it be kept in a sanctum sanctorum? How could it answer our prayers? So that day, the article, Bhagawan asked me. I said, I cannot separate the two. For me, in fact, my prayer is that I should be able to see you in everything, in everyone. Then Bhagavan smiled and said, Devki, you are right. This beggar's body is as precious as his soul, and there is no difference. He assured me, and that night I went and wrote it down. After I said that, he was blessing me for a long time. He blessed me in approval of what I said. So do not give a very narrow, selfish interpretation to anything that Bhagavan said. Bhagavan was too big, the huge presence. Whatever he said carried such deep meaning. You have to go that deep to find its true meaning. We cannot drag him to our level. How can there be another Yogi Ramsuratkumar? There can only be one Yogi Ramsuratkumar. There can be only one Raman Maharishi. There can only be one Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. There cannot be two. The infinite God, he never clones any of his creations. No two things can be identical in nature. The identical twins may look identical, but there would be so many things different from each other. It's a law of physics, it's a law of nature, it is the glory of the divine. It never reproduces. Every time it creates something, it's fresh and unique. There could only be one Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Nobody could imitate him. Please don't be carried away. All the others can only be his servants. Like Meera said, there is only one Krishna. Everyone else, be it a man or a woman, they can only be gopis. There is only one Krishna. So Sethuraman writes that, but you must give the highest interpretation to it because it's coming from the highest being, the supreme being. Bhagavan had often said, the closer you are to God, the higher will be your interpretation upon any happening, any event. You could give only the highest interpretation if you are closest to God. The lower the interpretation, the more distanced you are from God. Please remember that. We cannot afford to interpret Bhagavan. So, but Sethuraman, of course, he could not help coming to Bhagavan. That shows that he did not interpret it that way because he was running. At every chance he was running to see Bhagavan. He so much wanted to come. But since Bhagavan said, and he had a problem at that time, he was talking about his son who was lost at the age of 8. And he never got him back. So when he described, when he was talking about his son, Bhagavan said immediately, he would come back. Don't worry, he would come back. And he did. But to the horror, dismay of Sethuraman, he was kind of paralyzed, he was not able to walk, he was not able to move his hands freely, and he could not talk, this boy. The only way open, because Bhagawan said strictly you go to Kanimedam, that is nearer. He took the boy to Kanimedam and stayed there for 10 days, chanting the Nama, chanting all the time, praying. And then the boy reported that Bhagawan came in person in the night, sat by his side and stroked him from head to foot. It happened twice. Then Sethuraman knew that Bhagawan had cured him and his son would become normal like everyone else, and he did. Slowly, gradually, his limbs resumed life and the boy was also able to speak. One speciality about Sethuraman's walk for any pilgrimage was he took up Kashi Yatra from Rameshwaram. In 1983, he did Kashi Yatra from Rameshwaram. He took 4 months to reach Kashi by walk, Varanasi. And then in 1997, he made it again. He went all the way to Varanasi. After that, of course, after Bhagawan's Samadhi, he came only in 2004, after 1997. But then he could come back in 97 and describe the whole pilgrimage. He had the fortune of being blessed by Bhagawan after his description. Without these blessings, he could not have walked right up to Varanasi and to several other places. You see, he says, once from Devakote, Madurai, Uttamapalayam, he had walked to Tiruvannamalai from different places. It was something he could not help doing, and Bhagawan supported it with his grace. And after Mahasamadhi of Bhagawan 2001, in 2003 again he took up pilgrimage to Kashi, walked all the way from Rameshwaram. In 2003 he went to Kailash, 2004 he took up this Kashi Yatra, but before that, 1 year before, he went to Kailash. He visited, the group of 20, 25, they went to Manasarovar. After Mahasamadhi of Bhagawan, when he went there to Manasarovar, took a dip in the waters of Manasarovar, it was very, very cold. He was almost frozen, and yet he braved it up. He took a dip, and when he came out of water, what did he see? Bhagawan was seated in flesh and blood, with a hand fan and a coconut shell and the turban, the kurta and the dhoti. He was there very much alive. And you can imagine the shock that he went through. Sethuraman, immediately he started to cry. He ran, excited. Tears were pouring. He was trembling. The impact of Bhagavan's darshan was too much for him. He could not help reacting to that. He was shouting, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, and was running like a madman towards Bhagawan. The rest of the people who came with him saw that and knew something was happening, something extraordinary was happening, and they were asking, what are you doing? Why are you running like a madman? He said, you see, my Gurudev, my Gurunath is there. He's sitting there. Can you not see? He's there. He's smiling. And those people could not see. They said, no, we can't see anybody there. And then Sethuraman, in a highly excited voice, he said, let all of us chant his name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So they began to chant. All the 20 of them chanted Yogi Ramsuratkumar loudly with folded hands, and then they also could see Bhagawan in flesh and blood. Bhagawan was seated there right on the bank of this Manasarovar with his turban, coconut shell and the hand fan and a smile. He gave darshan to the entire group, because that group which sang Yogi Ramsuratkumar along with Sethuraman, they had come here to the ashram and they were saying very excitedly, and they used to come every year, because every year they were going to Kailash, and before going to Kailash the group would visit the ashram, do puja to Bhagawan, or at least watch Arati and go, and after finishing they would come again to the ashram. They would come and give me the water for Abhishekam and the stones they picked up there, and then a video of their trip. So you see, Bhagawan, who said, only this body is here, the soul is there, was giving darshan in flesh and blood to the same Sethuraman. And you know what age he was at the time? He was 79. At the age of 79, Sethuraman went all the way, walking around the Kailash mountain, what it is. A very rough terrain. There were stones, thorns, not to mention the ice all around. At the age of 79, he was able to walk around. And he also says, Sethuraman, after this darshan, he had once again darshan of Bhagawan, but this time Bhagawan was seated on the top of the mountain, the peak of Kailash. And he looked like Lord Shiva. The face was that of Bhagawan, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Otherwise, he had the hair all tied up there on the crown with rudrakshas around his neck, around his limbs, with vibhuti right on his forehead. The rest of the hair falling down. He saw Lord Shiva on the peak of the mountain, and the Lord Shiva had the face of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. This is what Sethuraman came and told me here in 2003 after his trip to Kailash. He gave me a huge photo of Lord Shiva of Kailash and the Mansarovar water and one or two stones he picked up on the shore of Mansarovar. In 2004, again he went to Varanasi, the pilgrimage to Varanasi by walk. He was 80 years, and then when he came here, I saw I told him, look Sethuramanji, you have been there and so many times, it is my turn to do namaskar to you. I must do namaskar to you, and then I bent down and I saw his feet. And that's when I saw all the toes of both his feet were turned down. They were bent down. And I asked him, what is this? How could you walk? By Bhagawan's grace I was able to walk. Otherwise, how could I even think of this? I chanted his name all the way, and that took me up. This is what he said. Just try and walk on your soul alone, without toes, without using the toes, and see how balanced you are. At the ripe old age of 80 years, with that kind of feat, he was able to achieve it. It's pure grace. So, this is a very inspiring story of a man who had such faith. In Bhagawan, he was an achiever. We must have a determination like his, and we must practice like he did. I think he is no more now. I do not know which year he passed away. But I always remember him, especially his feet. Shri Muralidhara Swamiji once said in one of his speeches when he had come here that the Guru, only some chosen people could go to the Guru, take refuge at his feet. Not everybody can go. In fact, Bhagawan had told me quite a few times that we had been together from birth to birth. All these people who take refuge at the feet of a master, they've all been together from birth to birth, over janmas. So in this janma, they gather once again at the feet of the Guru to do his work. So we are all here to do his work. In fact, he gave an example of Raman Maharishi, that somebody had come all the way. He wanted to have initiation from Raman Maharishi. He wanted to become a disciple of Raman Maharishi. At that time, Sri Seshadri Swami was in his body, so he had darshan of Seshadri Swami. And then he went to Raman Maharishi. Of course, Raman Maharishi wouldn't speak at all. Then this man went on pestering him. He wrote a prayer, a request to Raman Maharishi saying, see, I have come all the way. I look upon you as my Guru. I have taken you as my Guru. I would not have anyone else for my Guru. If you do not accept me as your disciple, then I would be born again. And since I have taken you as my Guru, in order to liberate me, you have to be born again. You have to be born also. So you better do it in this birth itself. Raman Maharishi read it, and again he did not speak. So this man was flabbergasted. He did not know what to say, what to do. Finally, he encountered him again, and that demanded. And Raman Maharishi said, if you do not have my grace, can you come here? You are asking for my grace all the time. Without that grace, can you come here? If it is not for liberation, can you come here? Meaning, once you have come to me, liberation is assured. You don't have to go on harping on it, pestering. Once we have taken refuge at the feet of a great soul, a self-realized soul, liberation is assured. Otherwise, we would not have come to him at all. We are all chosen people, chosen for his work. As long as we live here, we have to chant his name and do service to him. Now the Master is all-pervasive, all-knowing, all-powerful. And every work that falls into our hand is his work. So all of us, even if you are in a household, even if you are elsewhere, it doesn't matter. Whatever work you come across is only his work, Father's work. You have to do it in the right spirit. Whatever work you do, you have to do it with the spirit that I am doing it for Bhagawan. I am doing the seva to my Master. So Deepavali has started, and very loudly. And so once again, we have to remember again and again what Bhagawan said. Bhagawan is alive. People who really want to see him, who long to see him, can still see him. He is here, he walks about, he is everywhere. His own son said that Bhagawan came and sat by his side. He himself saw Bhagawan in Manasaro near Kailash. So that Bhagawan is here right in front of us with an ever-ready Abhay Hasta, saying, I'm here, don't fear. And there's a constant flow of blessings from him. Let's submit our today's prayers.